Gathered friends, listen again to our legend of ritualistic water pollution.
We're bringing naming day closer to Christmas all the time these days, flushing money down the toilet just like humans.
Allow us to introduce ourselves. I'm Max Dudek, the lead host, and joining me are my lovely other hosts. Please introduce yourselves.
It is me. I am me.
It is like the
I
awkward
do things that I
standoff.
do.
Hello, Levi. How's it going?
I'm doing well, thank you, Liam. How are you doing?
I am doing well, and yes, I am Liam, also known as Vahkiti. With us today, we also have a random cat flying around somewhere. I don't know what she's doing. Hello, cats.
I am Cats, and today the headmate that is fronting is the loud, annoying one.
Oh,
The best
good.
one.
And of course, with us today, we have two very special guests and the writers of the stories we have written today. So that would be BobTheDoctor and Tahnok Trapper. Hello, guys. How are you guys doing?
Hello, everyone. Hi there. Doing well, thanks.
And I'm doing well too, thank you.
Hell
Good to
yeah.
hear.
Yeah. Yep. Tahnok Trapper was in the call for like an hour before we started, and he was like, "So, what did you think of the stuff that I wrote?" And I was like, "Oh, that's for us to discuss on the podcast."
That's secret opinions. It can be very challenging to go through some of these things and not just immediately jump into the episode planning channel and be like, "Oh my god, I loved this moment."
That's very
That's
true.
It
right.
can indeed.
That's right. I have ADHD. It's challenging for me not to just spit out all of my words all the time. That's why I have a habit of interrupting people all the time.
Oh, don't worry, we can tell.
Yes. Because if I don't say what I'm thinking right away, I will forget what I'm thinking.
So, Max, what are we thinking this week?
Well, we're thinking of starting some stories by the lovely Tahnok Trapper here.
Indeed.
The first one I was thinking of discussing is Hafu
Yes.
in Common.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, the
I-
first
I-
one or the second one?
I read them in the order that they were presented, which means we read the Madanui one first?
I think so, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, that's actually a total coincidence. I'm going on my own order here based on how we plan to go through the
Chronological
other
order?
stories. No, not a chronological order, more like a thematic order.
Ah.
Oh.
Well,
Yeah.
by all means, take it away.
Okay.
Things tend to make sense when you read them in an order.
So, Hafu in Common. We have the great Hafu. He's, working on carving as Pomatoran do, of which,
Another
he is
Hafu original.
exactly, he is a master at it.
He is a master of it. Pomatoran love carving things, but Hafu is the best at it. And he has a big ego, and he thinks
at least-
everyone should know who he is.
At the very least, he wants everyone to think he's the best at it.
He
I think
thinks
he's the best.
everyone should know who he is. And so he tries to catcall this random Gomatoran, and she's all like, "Bitch, I don't know who you are."
So, yes.
And he's
So, yeah, Holly, our Gamatoran, is admiring one of Hafu's sculptures. And to
because
Hafu's...
he is pretty good, actually.
Yeah, he is. He's good.
It's worth noting that this story takes place during Madanui Online Game 2, I believe.
That is
Yeah.
correct.
Yes.
At least that's
Yeah.
what I see as well.
Yeah, when Harley's entering Pokor for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Much to Hafu's dismay, Holly does not recognize him, and he is...
No, she doesn't
Salty.
just not recognize him. She's just like,
Doesn't
there's
Hafu
no
wear
way.
a
There's
Pakari?
yeah, there's no way you can be Hafu. You have a different face.
I'm pretty sure that's someone else's face.
Aren't you that really strong Onu Matoran?
It is what? Matoran trading masks? Unthinkable.
But they didn't. That's the tragedy of it all. He never did.
Mm.
Yeah. But also she is deliberately fucking with him because he's
Oh,
like
that goes in the jar.
Okay. Well, you know, but between this recording and the last one, I found out that Liam secretly has all the quarters in Canada, and I have been doing the Foley work all this time. Bitch, I need those quarters to buy food.
Yeah, not to get off on a stupid tangent or anything, but like right behind me here, I have a box of like $200 worth of like Millennium and Olympic quarters that my grandpa was collecting for like 15 years.
That's quite
Now,
amazing.
That's cool.
if you buy a glass jar instead of the shitty plastic one that I have, put that in the jar also. Then you will be the master of coin jar Foley artist forever.
The swear jar goes in the swear jar.
shitty fuck, boom
Hey.
fuck.
That's enough
Okay,
of
I'm
this.
cutting that out in editing.
All right. So yes, like we mentioned, Holly comments on Hafu wearing a Ruru rather than a Pakari like she was expecting Hafu to wear, that is misinformation. That's propaganda.
That's fake news.
Fake news indeed.
And then Holly informs him that she's here for the Coley match, which, you know, there's a big Coley tournament that's going to happen in the future. And
What are you doing out here alone? You're supposed to be at the Coley match.
that's true. That's true.
I assure you, milady, I am in fact the master
Oh
card.
god. Oh, that I never took Hafu for the kind of person who would be like milady, but
He would be, though. He totally would.
Like it was good. It was in character, but I think that's probably the first time I've ever really cringed at a Bionicle story.
I know, I kind of liked it. I thought it was funny.
Oh, it was
And
funny, don't get me wrong.
Yeah. And Big Mr. Ego here is all like, "Oh, you don't recognize me, the great guy no one actually sees. They only see the things he makes." He's like, she doesn't recognize her, so why should she recognize him?
Well, she's not a famous sculptor. That's why.
She's not a connoisseur of the fine arts.
She's not based in Cringeville.
She is one of the 12 sports peoples. There are only 12 people on this island that play sports.
But she
And
just
I
started.
think, like, it does certainly help that she's not quite the chronicler yet at this point. So, like,
She just
it
started
makes
playing
sense
Foley.
that she wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's just here to play lacrosse.
Tinkle outside the binkle.
Indeed.
Yes. So Holly continues down the path of prophecies, which is, you know, the lovely path of sculptures that I love so much, and finds
Indeed.
Common. Common.
Yeah, and commenters are like, "Oh, you should go look at the goats."
Pretty much. Yeah.
Oh god.
If you-
Oh, that gave me so many war flashbacks. Oh my god.
That was my
Yeah,
favorite
Com-
minigame from Monog 2,
No.
to be honest.
No.
Comment is
No.
No, that's the
Yes.
easy one. The strategy game is the easy one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Comment is
okay.
yeah.
Mini game. That one gives me nightmares. Ugh.
So
Leah,
Josie was here for this. Josie understands my pain. But when
Do
we
I?
did
Do
when
I?
we did our stream of Modanui Online Game 2 on the Beaverhouse like 5 years ago or 4 or 5 years ago, most of the Coley matches were relatively tame, even with their training grinding. Pokoro
Yeah,
took me
Pokoro.
15 hours
Oh, wow, that's a
grinding
lot.
the stupid minigame, and then going back for an attempt, failing, going back to the minigame, rinse and repeat. I have a montage on YouTube that I can like somehow attach to or include in the editing for
Well-
the video version of this.
Well,
That is like
respectfully, skill issue.
It's like
Yeah.
5 minutes long and contains like 12 different screens, all showing a segment of different attempts.
That's
And
hilarious.
that was compiled like 8 hours of footage.
It's funny because
I
that's the
don't-
one
I
that
don't
is
think-
legitimately
yeah, you know
the
what,
one I had the
really?
easiest time with.
God.
I don't
you know
think
why
I don't think
Pokoro
I
was-
remember that. I don't. Hey, I have a joke. I don't think I remember this. Were you wearing a Picario or a Ruru?
Oh god, but that was so painful. And even with that, we still managed to beat Messenak's best time with the game.
That's
Are
pretty
you
good.
serious?
Yes.
Oh dear.
Wow.
That's a
Wow.
speed run if I've ever seen
You know
one.
why the Pokoro game was
Amazing.
the Pokoro match was so hard? Because it's supposed to be like canon compliant and shit.
I
it was
mean,
hard
I
because-
guess.
yeah. Yeah, but that's like the one thing that shouldn't be canon compliant. Like the
Yeah,
one thing where they didn't need to, and they did. It's pain.
Pain,
For,
suffering.
for
even.
me, the hardest one was balancing on that pole in Kauai.
Oh yeah, that
That was the real hard one for me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think... Okay, in general, a lot of these mini-games in particular weren't all that hard. It was just the sheer amount of times you needed to play them to get anywhere.
No, for real. But now we are getting distracted.
You know what else is hard? Sculptures made by bunkles.
Wow, that's not where I thought you were going with that.
So Holly and Common chat about the Pomotorn principle of creation, which is, pretty based. I like that.
Yeah.
And then Common is like, hey, don't tell anyone I said this. Go find that mahi herder in the middle of the desert.
I really liked
maybe
this.
you'll be good enough to beat our boys.
I
What
thought
were you
this was
saying, Levi?
super. I thought this bit was super cool. Just even with the spirit of competition, they're still helping each other. This is very Matoran. I like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that in the actual game itself, too. I forget whether or not you played that during the original run of the show. I think the walkthrough of it may have been optional reading material. I forget the details, but a lot of this was in the actual game, too. It's just this expanded on a couple of characters that didn't get all that much screen time. And I thought it did a really good job of it.
Yeah.
Yep, the author of this short story did a really good job. Too bad he was
thank
hit
you.
by a bus
job.
after a podcast.
Then Holly goes on their way to herd some mahi, and Hafu once again laments to Common that Holly didn't recognize him, and he's very sad.
And then Hafu is like, maybe I should trade masks arbitrarily with an Onumaturin.
Yeah, and then Kamen is like, he laughs and goes about his work. Like he's used to it. He's used to half of shenanigans.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Half
that's-
of shenanigans.
I really like these stories that expand on Matoran that don't really have a lot of spoken dialogue otherwise. Because, they made at least 16 different Matoran for every Koro, and very few of them are at all memorable.
Yeah, and they have like one line apiece in the game.
Yeah.
If even that.
I thought it was
remember
Even
very
worse
nice
in Lake Koro, where, two of the
Yeah.
Matoran didn't even get to exist.
Yeah, that was
And
really sad.
we only found out about them 20 years later. There was an article that Gonal actually was talking with Peter Mack during the Bionicle Day celebrations, and Peter revealed a couple more of the story beats that were supposed to be in Minog 2, as well as the missing Lematoran from Lake Oro.
Yeah, I did really like the ending where Common comments on how entertaining Hafu is to work around.
Yeah.
One
Yes.
element of this that I really enjoyed was the fact that it really plays this seems like it could be cutscene dialogue taken from the actual Knock 2 game.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously there are elements that are similar to their spoken dialogue. I'm sure there's the basis there, but it really captures that style of Bionicle writing that is dependent on the game and to celebrate the game as the vehicle for the story to be progressed. I think it really excels in doing that.
Yeah, and it gives the Matoran, the writing for both this and the Minog games in particular, give the Matoran of Matanui a very unique overall, cultural personality that you don't really see in a lot of the other villages inside the GSR.
I love this shit.
I agree.
Any other comments people have on this story, or shall we move on to the next
Nope.
one, which is related?
I think
let's
we
move
move
on.
swiftly on.
Yeah, I think
Well-
that these are generally short enough that comments are, once you talk about the main plot points, there really isn't a whole lot else to discuss.
I guess
Yeah,
you're
this
right.
is a
We
great
have
story.
discussed it.
Slice of life.
This is great. I wonder where you can go from here.
Well, we can go back in time to Metro Nui.
I want to start this one off by saying I have played the Metro CDs years ago. I barely remember any of the plot details, but this was probably not my first time finding out, but certainly the first time remembering that for some reason LEGO just decided, yeah, let's make Hafu look identical to Ahkmou.
Yeah, that was pretty silly. I've played those a lot too. I love them so much.
Because an identity crisis was just a defining characteristic of this character for the whole time for some reason.
So it would seem. I think I could be mistaken.
I think they
but
just
out
goofed.
of all the Matoran that, didn't become Toa and go through a bunch of random crap later on, I think he's the one who has changed appearance the most.
No, for real.
Yes.
Because he's had at least 2 different color schemes and 3 different masks.
I don't think he's had the Pakari in canon. I thought that was just Kapura.
It's because okay, so the idea is so the reason for the confusion is because the Pakari and the Ruru in Mnog specifically looked so similar that everybody in the fan base got them confused, and now I guess it's canon. That
dubiously so.
The models were actually pretty different. It's just that Kapura and Hafu got Pakaris for some reason instead of
Ruru,
and
it was real.
Supposed
it was really weird too because they had that Pakari design. And then the Leikoro chapter came out, and Onua has an on-model Pakari. But then you fast forward to the end of the game, the Kininui chapter, and Onua's back to the old Pakari again.
Because he must.
Yeah,
it's like they specifically made an on-model Pakari for that one cutscene and nowhere else.
If you haven't had it declared yet, I headcanon that the Mnog model of the Pakari is just the noble Pakari.
I like that idea.
Okay then, you've heard it here, folks. New Greg says it's canon.
Lies,
deception. Let's go edit a biosector real quick.
But yeah, it's like. Because I remember correctly, Hafu always had the Ruru in canon because of the set from the Power Pack, right? But Manog mixed it up, and that's what they reference in Manog too. But Kapura, he actually did, like in canon, he actually did have a Pakari during the events of Manog. So it's like it's really like Kapura who's the one who switched,
Now, unlike the constant going back in time to learn the story of who taught who the language of the birds, I want the buck to stop here. I think that being constantly mistaken for Ahkmou was what gave Hafu the identity crisis and constantly changing his mask. I think that's perfect. Because out of all the Matoran in the universe, Ahkmou is one of the ones you want to be mistaken for the least.
Yeah.
and having a Toa yell at him in this story is probably what drove him over the edge. Is like full on PTSD. Like, oh my god, I could really get into some deep stuff, into some deep trouble.
What's worse is that this is a Toa that is from Po-Metru and statistically has probably encountered Hafu at least once before.
Alongside that, he's absolutely joyous when he sees him. He is beyond happy to see this Toa. And then the first thing he hears is, Ahkmou, you sand snipe!
Yeah.
Good lord.
So like unlike the thing with the jungle Toa, whose name I forgot, I think the book should stop here. I don't think it should be revealed that Hafu had a different mask before this point. I think he should have always had the Rao. I think he should have had the Rao, and then he switched to the Bakari or the Ruru, whichever it was.
The Ruru.
Yeah.
I think it's perfect. It's like because like Ahkmou.
It's a good reason.
One of the biggest poop heads in the universes, in the whole universe.
I'm gonna headcanon that immediately after this story is when Hafu goes like, all right.
When the first Toa of Stone you see in potentially centuries yells at you, yes, that is when you make some serious life choices.
Yeah, and you know Hafu is like he would take it as Ahkmou has besmirched my name by stealing my look.
Ahkmou has been besmirching his name since the moment the two of them had the same mask, which was probably since they were both created.
I also like the idea that like he didn't just change his mask; he repainted his armor too.
But what's hilarious is that Ahkmou becomes the same colors.
Oh God, he does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
There's an idea for another story. Ahkmou now trying to impersonate Hafu.
Well, the good news is that Hafu doesn't remember that, and Ahkmou doesn't quite have the same memory loss as everyone else, but he does.
Oh, he doesn't have any.
Well, he does.
As far as I know.
No, he does. That's how Makuta was able to like convince him that the Toametru were bad.
True.
When he came out of his sphere, he had some memory blurriness, but since he hadn't spent as much time in the sphere as everyone else, his memory wasn't as blurry as everyone else's.
Right.
So
blurry enough to not remember the truth.
It's blurry enough that his already poopish personality could be made even more poop. The Pterodax just pooped all over him. He was already a poop head, and now he's a bigger poop head. And do you like that I'm saying?
Ahkmou has a swear jar inside a swear jar inside a swear jar.
Do you like that I'm saying poop instead of the poop slur?
Yes, they're very good. Have a cookie.
I did. It was good. It was blue. I like blue.
Excellent. So we should probably continue discussing the story at hand.
Exactly. I think we should.
Everyone hates
add
Ahkmou.
some more structure to it because I think we skipped ahead a little bit. We got a bit excited.
But, hold on. Someone on Liam's server just called the Lego alligator breedable, so I have to look at this.
No.
It's not time to deal with that right now.
It's always time to deal with that.
Nope. We deal with
Moving right along.
later. Anyway. So to clarify to those listening, we have covered Hafu's going about his day on Metro Nui, he's working, and then Toa Anawa comes by angry at him, mistaking him for Ahkmou, because Ahkmou is just not a nice guy. And then then Hafu's like, how could this be? I'm not him.
And then Kamen comes along and mocks him for his misery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love their dynamic. I think that's done really well.
I do like it.
They couldn't be any more different.
Yeah, Kamen's so chill. I like Kamen.
And then Hafu's just like, you know what? I'm gonna forcefully mutate Ahkmou the next time I see him.
And then Kamen's like, no, the police might be around. Don't say such
The
things.
wolves have ears.
It's illegal to throw a frisbee at someone.
So illegal to talk about it, to threaten it.
It's illegal to threaten people with frisbees.
No, it's not even illegal to just threaten it. It's illegal to even talk. Like you said, it's illegal to even discuss the idea of it.
Yeah,
pretty
it's
extreme.
Orwell.
I do like hearing more about that concept though, because it's been quite some time since I've reread the Metro Nui novels, but I don't remember hearing a whole lot about things like disc dueling or the Matoran underworld in the city. I'd like to hear more about that kind of thing.
I think that was mostly in the supplementary material, not in the books.
Yeah, most of the books were dungeon crawl through the city. There wasn't much focus on the city itself and day-to-day life, which is why stories like this that show a workplace environment, Matoran civilians, it's really rare to see.
Yeah, and that's a shame too, because like we got a lot of that from Matanui stories, due in no small part to the games that focused exclusively on the Matoran. But outside of things like this, you don't really get a lot of world building for Metro Nui other than it just being
whatever's
city, but in the past.
Or whatever's relevant to what's happening right now in like
the future past.
Yeah.
The future past.
The best past.
Bionicle Days of Future Past.
Bionicle Days of Future Past. Pokemon Z.
So yes, and Common suggests, hey, maybe you should go to Vakama and get a new mask. And Hafu
He's like,
absolutely insults Vakama, which
dumbass.
It's like, how could you say this?
Disgusting little deck swab.
Oh, I love that. It's like, I don't know where this disrespect even came from, but I love it.
I would rather look like a terrorist than get a mask from him.
And then he immediately starts looking into getting a mask from him.
Yeah,
that's true. Because he's self-conscious like that, you know? Anyway, that was that story. That was Hafu and comment on Metro Nui. I love that one.
He has always had a big ego. I do love this. Unfortunately, the author is fated to die today.
Why?
Why?
What?
Why are you?
Because I said so. I am very powerful and can arrange the buses to fall from the sky.
Well, I'll be staying indoors then. I'll be staying indoors. In the
stay
basement.
indoors, my friend.
Do you think a bus? Do you think that your wall? Do you think that your walls can survive a bus falling onto your roof?
I think I do.
Oh, well then you'll be safe.
Moving right along, I believe the next one on our list is
I decide the next one.
Oh.
Sorry. I've got an order.
Max wants power now.
No, I've got a clever order for it. Trust me.
I'm no longer baby. Now I want power.
The next one we're doing is the referee.
Ah.
That tracks, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, maybe you can start to see where I'm going with this, or rather, which stories I'm going to end with before we get to to our other author.
I don't see anything.
It's okay. You will see in time.
The knowing will come.
The knowing will. That line. Oh my god.
Nice.
That's perfect. Anyway, we have the referee. So this is set during the events of Time Trap, my favorite Bionicle novel.
Yeah.
In which Vakama was retrieving the Mask of Time. What's happening here is we got the remaining Toametru working on unloading the Matoran spheres from the airships when they migrated to Matanui, the island, not the man.
No, it's the same thing. The island is on his face.
I immigrated to God's beard.
Matanui's mask.
That's right.
He's got a nice face mask.
That's right.
Used with natural minerals.
This podcast brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. No, it's not!
Anyway.
It's just the island is Matanui's exfoliating scrub.
You're right.
And the Borak are his razors.
I'm just imagining like Matanui lying in the middle of the ocean with like the island of Matanui is just like one of those face masks that you wear as like a spa treatment, and he's got like giant cucumbers over his eyes.
Yep. The whole island of Matanui is just guacamole.
His non-existent hair tied up in a towel, sipping like tea or something, just sitting in... I guess he's just got like mountains in the shape of a bathtub around him.
He's so comfortable that he fell asleep.
But
for thousands of years.
Yeah. All right, enough jokes about the biggest twist in the series. So we got the airships, right? They start descending. They arrive at the island. Ahkmou steps inside like Buzz Lightyear at the beginning of Toy Story. He's looking around, studying his surroundings. Not far from the landing site was a vast sandy coastline. I like that. I like that image.
Yeah.
So
sort of reminds. I assume it's similar to the location of the ending of Legends of Metru Nui, which is presumably
it's
where they were all unloaded, anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was the Tawahi beach. Was it?
I don't remember if it was ever actually specified where that was.
I think that's a bit of chronicler's bias there.
I want to believe it was the Tawahi beach where it all started, where it all began.
I agree. I feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, but at the same time, we would... I don't know, like, it depends on how much you want to dig into, like, artistic consistency, because the beach at the end of Legends of Metru Nui looks nothing like the beach in Madanui Online game.
It's been
this
1,000
generic beach TM.
years! It's been 1,000 years, and it's different art styles!
Yes, but there are geographical features entirely missing.
That's true. I think it's just represented by a generic beach, and it can be on whichever region you want, except for Kauai.
It's a little thing called landscaping.
No, that's silly.
Yeah, Matanui got some manscaping and got rid of those features.
Yeah, he just threw up some mountains and burned down an entire forest.
Yeah, that's silly.
Yes!
Anyway.
Yes!
We are getting sidetracked.
The forest is canonically burned down.
When do we not get sidetracked?
I'm trying. I try my best.
Guys, we've got some Matoran to unload here. We've got to get them on the beach.
No, exactly. We got chores to do, guys.
We got time. Vakama's taking his time, so can we.
He's taking his time, is he?
Yes. Anyway, let's go in order of what happens in the story. So, Ahkmou is being tasked with leading the sort of project of unloading all the Matoran. So he assigns each to a Metra to take one individual airship, start loading that, and then eventually Wenua finishes first. So now he was helping Nujo and Matao with the second one, which was lovely. But then Ahkmou notices, where the hell is Nokama?
She's gone to brood.
She has indeed. So there she is.
No, she's having a panic attack.
Yes, there she is, brooding on the cliff edge or the shore or whatnot in the fetal position. And
and she's claiming that she's taking watch.
Exactly. You never know when a rocket might strike, she says.
But Ahkmou has grown as a person enough to recognize, no, she's trying to pretend to be strong, but she's clearly having a panic attack.
I do also like that the little reference to, like, you never know when a Rahi could attack, because there was, I forget if it was in Time Trap or an earlier Metru Nui book, but there was like a little tongue-in-cheek reference in one of those books where it's like, I wish things could be easier, like one day we'll only have to deal with wild Rahi attacks or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And I feel like that might have been a subtle little nod to that as well.
What if it's referencing
in Time Trap when Vakama does the badass thing, he does make the deal with Pterodax to make sure that random Rahi do not attack the beach for 1,000 years or whatever.
Wasn't it just
I think it was 100 years.
Or I thought it was
100 years. I thought it was a shorter period. Yeah.
One year.
Time means nothing to me, so I don't give a
Kinloka's ass.
I don't give a whatever. Yeah, sure.
Can't believe you'd say such a thing. So,
He's a Toa of
Yeah,
fire,
if
and
only
he
he
jumped
died.
into the He's a Toa of fire, and he jumped into the ocean without a mask of water breathing. Why on earth did any of them think he even had a chance?
More to the point, why did we're not to get off on a tangent about time trap, because I'm sure we already discussed this all 5 years ago, but why did he not bring extra masks with him? Or I don't know, how do Suvas even work for the Toa Metru? Do they have Suvas?
They have not. They have no Suva. They are Suvaless.
Yeah. He would have to carry them. He would have to carry extra masks. He would have to carry extra masks with him.
Well,
and
look, if he
carrying...
can fit, if he can fit the Vahi in his hammer space as well as mask making tools, then why couldn't he take a couple more with him too?
Because the Vahi is more compact than most other masks, but still, I think a mask of water breathing could have really benefited him when jumping into the ocean. Yeah, he
had to have, because they specifically took a selection of masks with them from Metru Nui to Mata Nui, specifically for the Toa Mata to find.
But that's for them. That's reserved. That's not his.
That's their masks. He's not allowed to use them.
Yeah, he's not allowed. What if he dies, right? Then they have one less mask.
Greg just wanted to show how Vahkama is awesome. Because
that's not a bad argument, actually, because it does fold into the same kind of argument that was brought up in the next story, or one of the next stories we'll be covering, that I hadn't really considered, in that if there are no mask makers, then you break a mask, you're pretty well fucked.
Exactly. And if he dies while taking one of those masks that they need, rip, that mask is gone. You know?
Yeah.
So it was actually a big brain play from him to not take a calc.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Vahkama jumping into the ocean was probably the stupidest thing anyone could have possibly done, and he lived, and he got it. He got the thing. He did it.
That's true.
That's why Time Trap is the best. That's why Time Trap is so good. That's why Time Trap is so good.
I love Time Trap.
But we're not talking about Time Trap today. We're talking about adjacent stories to Time Trap.
Exactly. We got ahead of ourselves talking about one of our favorite books.
Yeah, they're all really worried about their stupid dumbass friend who jumped into the ocean despite being an elemental of fire. And they're like, yeah, maybe he was just maybe his suicide mission mission.
Mm-hmm. But yes, let's actually get back to the story. So Anawa, realizing this, so Anawa considering this allows Nakama to kind of just like chill and keep watch for Rahi, seeing that she's just not doing well, and it made him think about like, hey, why was I so hard on my homie? He could be dead. I need to be nicer to him. He was actually pretty based.
If you're not dead, I won't insult you anymore.
Yeah.
If you're alive, I will also not insult you anymore.
Yeah, one of the things I like most about this story is the fact it gives Oniwa an opportunity to be in Vahkama's position for a little bit. And he really gets empathy for Vahkama's style of leadership, having to support Nakama, support the other Toa with their squabbles.
Yeah, because
really
Anawa was...
It takes him out of his comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, and Anawa was always such a dick in the stories. He never really got any character development. I really missed that with the Metru arc.
Yeah, he really changed between Metru Nui and Mata Nui, didn't he?
Right. And I forget if there was... Bob, was it you that was working on the story with Turaga Anawa and Ahkmou?
Yeah. Working on a story right now, kind of covering this period, so a little bit about Turaga Oniwa and how he handles Ahkmou in these first couple of years.
Because I remember reading that before.
Yeah, well, still, it's a draft at the moment, but it's something I hope to do, and it's something that's very relevant to this and to this whole dynamic. Yeah,
That's why I brought it up, because it helps it helps continue to fill that gap, because obviously he didn't become this like more toned down, less abrasive character instantaneously, even after he became a Turaga.
It wasn't an overnight change. I think with the Turaga, you've got Nuju adopting the language of the fires very abruptly, and you've also got Oniwa very suddenly filling the hell out.
Yeah.
He was really wound up as a Toa, really abrasive, but as a Turaga, he's a completely different person. He's really laid back, much less confrontational, much wiser. And I think a story like this, seeing him stepping up to leadership, gives us a taste of that transition, and it really smooths over the difference between these two versions of it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going for.
Have.
Oh yeah, I think you did
like
a very
this.
good job.
Yes, I
really like this
yeah.
story.
Thank you.
I really like this story, and I really like how Onwa handled
Ottawa.
Anawa. I really like how Anawa handled that panic attack.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as dawn breaks, unfortunately, Matao and
A
Nuju
fight
get in a
breaks
scuffle. Yes.
I really like this scene because it answers a question that I never thought to ask before, and that's why Turaga Nuju does not have a scope on his mask anymore.
Bro.
Presumably it was just broken and Vakama couldn't fix it.
Why couldn't he fix it? Or
He
make a
was
new one?
drowning.
He probably just, he was drowning, and he probably just didn't have the necessary materials.
And when he comes home, they all turn into Turaga.
Well, why couldn't he just make a new one?
He probably didn't have the materials.
We don't have any Kanoka discs. That's silly. I mean, they do, but we gotta use them for other stuff.
Yeah.
Rocky.
But
I imagine the mechanism was broken and he just took it out and there was like a gaping hole in his mask. Then he became a Turaga and like
Filled
that
in.
was it.
The transformation process into a Turaga just fixed the mask.
Yeah. So yes, something I like is how frustrated Matao gets. How frustrated everyone is kind of getting with Nuju refusing to speak Batoran. Because it's just like, bro, like, can you?
And this is long before he had any kind of a translator either, so nobody knows what the hell he's talking about.
Guys, he's intentionally speaking a language nobody knows around him. Even when he's angry, he's committed to it.
But I love it.
Yeah.
I think the only times in history that he's ever just like stopped speaking bird are when Kopaka first landed on the island.
I don't believe that.
And even then, no, because it was in comic number 1.
I know,
Matoran
but I'm
to
saying
Kopaka.
saying in my head canon, I don't believe it. In my head canon, he was still birding it up.
The only reason he did that was because they hadn't decided that character trait yet out of universe.
That's true. That's true. In my head, he was in that scene. He was birding it up because Matora was there. So mechanically, there's nothing to stop him from not speaking.
Understanding, yeah.
Bird it up, yo. Bird.
Well,
bird.
you know what Nuju had to say. Bird is indeed the word.
Bird is the word.
Anyway, before we get a cease and desist,
there is no way in heck that anyone could sue me for my rendition of Surfing Bird just now. I did not.
You would be surprised. Vinny has gotten DMCA's just for like loosely singing a few lyrics of a song himself.
It's true.
I can sing a song way worse than Vinny.
All right. So, Anola kind of resolves it. You know, he says, what does he say?
Shut the fuck up, both of you.
hey, into the jar you go.
No, don't put me in the jar.
Liam goes in the jar, and you know what happens to naughty children that go in the jar.
No, we're not making this another Pear Wiggler episode.
Yes.
They go in the Pear Wiggler!
All right, we gotta pick up the pace.
Oh my god, don't we only have half an hour left? Oh my god!
No,
All right.
Josie, we have like 2 hours.
Yes.
Oh. Why am I so bad at time?
But you know who's not bad at time? Vakama.
And
Who
myself.
shows up? And they're all so happy to see him.
And
Yeah,
he looks
including
like
Anawa.
ass.
Including Anawa, who Vakama is probably really surprised by, but he doesn't show it because he's such a badass. He's like, yeah, I knew you could totally do it. I believed in you.
Now
No,
here,
please.
give me that legendary mask so I can put some sparkles and glitter on it.
I'm gonna bedazzle the
Yeah,
heck.
he really
I'm
did
gonna
have to do that sort of thing, didn't he?
I'm gonna bedazzle the heck out. I'm gonna bedazzle the heck out of that mask.
When I was reading it, I never just like clocked that that's what he said. It's like, hey, I want to decorate it. And I'm like, hold on a second, that's a legendary mask of time.
I remember that the Pomatoran also did kind of decorations on the Kanohi. Like that was part of their
they
job.
did, didn't
that
they?
also did that. Yeah,
I forgot
that
about
was
that.
that was the reference.
Yeah,
Huh.
rhinestones and glitter and all that kind of things are stone. Well, not glitter. At one point,
My man just breaks out the whole ass Polly Pocket kit.
at one point, like before the invention of paper glitter, I think they used rocks. I think they used shiny rocks to put
Probably,
glitter,
like, they just
glitterized
ground up
things.
rocks into, like, sand
Am I
or
just-
something
am
and
I
mix
just
them with
pulling-
adhesive.
Am I just pulling this out of my ass? I don't think this is. Hold on. I'm gonna research the history of glitter. History of glitter.
No, please, stop.
Yes. So Vakama has returned.
In 1934,
No.
an American
No.
masochist
No.
accidentally
Josie,
invented what
please.
we now know as glitter.
No.
The glitter. Just no. Vetoed.
Vakama has returned with the Mask of Time, and everyone is relieved because we all missed him. He was the main character, you know. And
He was the not Tahu.
right.
In the Tahu before Tahu.
So he gets back and everyone's just like, damn, you look bad.
Yeah, he does look beat up, doesn't he?
It's like,
Yeah.
okay, we can talk about all this shit tomorrow. I need to sleep.
I need to rest
I
my
need to
eye.
make like Matanui and sleep.
Hey,
For
you
1,000 years.
you said the poop slur. You said the poop slur. Into the jar you go.
God damn it.
So, the end.
The ending
Fucking
being-
children get the power wiggler. Anyway, I love this story.
Yeah, this was really good.
I
As we
love
mentioned
this-
earlier, I think it was
I-
a very good like transitional piece for Ottawa's character.
For real.
I
real.
love this
Ottawa is one of my
story, and
favorite Toametru. Probably my favorite Toametru, so I liked seeing this.
Yep.
I like seeing him kind of empathize with Vakama more.
Honestly,
Look,
I'd love to see similar stories for the other Turaga as well. Like, obviously, some of them were a little closer to their Toei incarnations than others, but I think Matau in particular could also benefit from a similar tale.
For real. I want to see him kind of mature.
Yeah.
Time trap is all the characterization anybody needs out of a comma. Toa Fire jumps into the ocean because somebody has to, and the Toa of Water can't do it because she doesn't know how to fix masks.
More to the point, I think that was Time Trap in particular was a good transitional piece for Vakama as well. Really, honestly, the entire Metro Nui arc was just Vakama's story, pretty much.
Like I said, he was the
Yeah.
main character, bruh.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all need so much more characterization, and I am glad that practically none of what we've read so far in Regathered Friends has focused on Vakama, because the whole thing was about him. He was the main character.
Oh, don't worry. Once we're done with the Myths and Legacy catalog, we'll get there. There's one tale in particular by Aikuru that I really want to talk about.
Hell yeah.
Wah!
So what's the next story we're on to?
That's a
Indeed.
very good question, my friend. It is. The Wait, no, we just read the referee. I'm stupid.
The referee, too!
The
other
creation of
referee.
Coley. It's related.
Yeah,
That-
too.
Yes, yes, we can't play Ultimate Frisbee anymore because we don't have magic Frisbees.
Yes,
what are we
they've
gonna
run out of
do?
juice.
How are we gonna solve arguments?
Now we use bamboo disc in Frisbee. So yes, creation of Coley. Here's the backstory. The Tometra are now Karaga. Been a while. And unfortunately, the Onomatoran insulted the Pometru sculptures. And that was really bad. They were like, hey, them's fighting words, my friend. Or shall I say enemy?
I do like the premise of this story being like, we need to come up with something to settle disputes, because I'm pretty sure it was established like really early on in lore that was what Coley was for, but it was never really expanded on. And I think it ties in elements of early Motunui culture, and it sort of acts as a bit of a parallel to Barra Magna culture as well.
Yeah, it's a good thing,
It's sort of
good
like a
thing they
good
didn't create a
contrast of how
gladiator
they-
system.
Yeah.
It creates a good contrast of how those two different cultures chose to settle their differences.
Again, the Matoran are being based,
We play
and the
football,
Agori are
we
being cringe.
beat each
No,
other.
I'm just joking.
Into the jar I go.
Violence versus sports.
Very different circumstances.
Whereas America solves its problems with violence and sports.
Sports ball. This is truly a sports ball. So
This is truly a Bionicle gamer moment.
This is one of the Bionicle of
Ottawa
all
and
time.
Manua, they discuss in the hut. They're like, hey, we're at Akilini on Metronui. We need something like that to channel this competitiveness that our villagers are feeling. And they're just
Well,
like,
we've
well,
got
we don't
rocks.
have discs.
I just want to say before we go a little too far in, I don't want to gloss over just the visual of like an entire battalion of Onumatoran and Taraga Wenua just approaching Pokoro on an armada of Usul crabs.
Yes.
Hey,
Oh, yeah, that's true.
What started this argument again? Was it something?
They
Taiku did?
insulted the Pomatoran craftsmanship, and then the
You got bad
Pomatoran retaliated.
statues.
And
Yeah,
they're like,
well, you
your
got
stuff
bad
is
stone."
garbage, isn't it?
you got bad rocks.
You got bad dirt.
All right.
Oh.
This is how wars actually happen. What the hell?
Yeah.
Perhaps
This is
you're
how-
using
this is-
inferior dirt.
This is how wars happen.
So, Ottawa suggested, like, hey, we don't have discs, but we got rocks. We got lots of rocks. We can use the rocks. So,
Let's take one that is in a very specific shape
yes.
and kick it.
Profit.
Yes. So they set up
All
the
right, everyone
stadium.
get your rocks off.
Enough of you.
Yep.
I've had enough.
We're gonna kick this rock to solve our problems until Ahkmou ruins it again.
Yeah, he did do that.
Because
that's the future.
Ahkmou's always ruining things.
God
Yeah.
damn it, Ahkmou, stop poisoning my balls.
So, they set up the stadium. The match gets heated.
They set up Pokemon Stadium.
I love specifically how it was framed as like Ottawa created 2 arches and he called these goals. And then he created this arena and called it a stadium.
Let's go.
And he
It's
and
an
it was
alien
good.
concept to a society that doesn't have sports at all.
Just
Yeah.
before we get to the stadium, I do want to mention how Wenua is just starts this as, I don't like to leave my basement. And that, like, I only came here because your guy shouted at my guy, and then my guy shouted at me. Like, we got to do a whole thing here now. Let's invent a sport over this.
I just like the
How
idea
dare
that
you make me leave my man cave?
Yeah.
I just like the idea that since none of these babies know what sports are, because they all don't remember anything of their past life,
It is the genesis
they're
of
like-
sport.
like they do not conceive of how an arch of stone can be a goal of any kind.
So the goal whoever gets to 21 goals wins.
Which was the worst decision of all time.
Yeah, because the match went on forever because they were like so evenly matched. It was tied.
Yep,
up until the end.
21 is that's apparently a rule they took from Ultimate Frisbee.
I do quite like how it was framed in such a way that, like, it went on for so long that the sun started going down, which gave the Onumatoran a gradual advantage.
I
Yeah,
quite
for real.
liked that, yeah.
At first they were.
They're all
at
basement
first they were,
dwellers.
Yeah, at first they were eating dick because they're not good at
They cannot see.
They can't see, but then their vision started improving. Then their vision started improving, and their vision started improving, and their vision started improving, and their vision started improving, and
oh no, Josie's caught in a loop.
Uh-oh. I'm gonna end it by going to the next bit.
I quite like that the Pomatoran's advantage is that they can see in sunlight, and the others, the Onumatorans, is that they just don't have a circadian rhythm.
Yep. Yeah, they're both very strong and good at kicking things.
That's true. They have very similar elements. It is joked about in the community.
Yes. Yes. The only real difference between them is light levels.
But Huki has one element that the others don't have: the element of surprise.
The element of skill.
And the element of brain dead.
Yes,
Yes.
he headers the ball into the goal. And they win!
Hey everybody,
Kokoro
I'm gonna
wins.
give
Oh
myself
my
a
lord.
concussion in the name of sportsmanship!
I don't think you should be the person to invent the header in a sport that's played with rocks.
No, you're right.
That's not an accolade.
To be
You're right.
to be
Al.
fair, they
real
are...
talk though, like, if all it takes to crack the massive goddamn time is to throw it off a cliff into the ocean, headbutting a rock the size of your own head can't be good for a Matoran level Kanoe.
Maybe it's because of the
Plus-
shape of the
plus, like,
mask.
During the
structure
last
of it.
story we read, how did a piece of Nuju's mask get broken?
Oh yeah, he just like suddenly got just shoved a little bit by Matau, and that's all it took.
Well, that's what he claims. That's what Matau claims. Nuju refused to communicate what actually
Anawa
happened.
claims that he could have seriously hurt Nuju.
I believe Matau did more than shove him, but Nuju was too stubborn to communicate that.
These people are
Matau just threw a whole ass Matoran capsule in his face.
I think maybe
These
punched him. Who
people-
knows?
These people are frail as heck, and Huki here has no care in the world for his own self well-being. He's like, I want to win.
Exactly. This is what matters. It's about pride.
Now that's what I call using your head.
This above Huki's predilection to headbutting the rock is above all else probably the reason they started giving out special masks made out of different kind of metal than protodermis for these tournaments.
Ceremonial purposes.
Interesting.
Is copper harder than protodermis?
I don't think there's
I don't
any
think copper is
baseline
real.
for that, but we'd have to go into the lore pits to discuss that one.
Yes.
Okay.
Isn't copper really thin and soft? I don't think
Yeah.
it.
Right,
I don't think it would be that.
copper is traditionally what wiring is made out of.
Yeah.
Copper is
So,
good
no,
for conducting electricity.
actually,
I know
It would
that.
break.
Okay, so actually, Huki replacing his mask with a copper one would make it more easy to smash.
Yeah. Although
It's just a trophy.
I do wonder if broken masks and things like that were part of the reason why Coley was later reinvented to use sticks and pucks.
Well, they sure as hell took their time. My God, I can't speak. So it was like this for like hundreds of years with where it's like
his
football, but then
He lost his mask in a
for
Coley
like
match.
6 months they change it to lacrosse.
Yeah. They not because Hookie keeps headbutting the fuck swear jar. What were we talking about? Right.
We won.
So
Pokoro won.
They switch from rock soccer to metal lacrosse, not because Hookie keeps headbutting the rock, but because sometimes the rock can make you sick.
Or because we looked cool saving a water maiden. doing with it. It looks cool as hell.
Influencing the sport. He's the Giga Chat of Coley.
For real.
Yeah. And yep. When they rebuilt him, they should have extended the size of his chin. He wears a mask that has a much wider chin. They should have made his chin longer, not wider.
Photoshop his chin to Chad face.
Oh my god. How have I not shown you this? There's a Pokemon that looks like Tohohuki.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Which
Yes.
one are we referring to?
The Mari. Toamari.
No, I meant which Pokemon are we referring to?
This one.
Well, you're gonna have to specify for the audio audience.
Oh, Haxorus. What?
Oh yeah, I can kind of see it.
I see it too.
But yeah, Haxorus looks like Hookie, and when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, I am gonna catch one. I'm gonna name it Hookie." And I don't think I've done that yet, but I'm gonna eventually. I have ADHD real bad, guys.
Yeah.
Real bad.
But you know who doesn't have ADHD?
Me.
That makes one of us.
I don't have that. I'm just bipolar. But that's but that's my problem. So anyway, Pokoro wins, no surprise, because you know they're the best.
Well, it was a surprise at the time. It was a surprise at the time because this is the first game they've ever played. They don't know that Pokoro's the best yet.
Yeah, I quite like that. Like it was described as the game went on. They did have to. They improved their skills very quickly, but they started off playing. It was just violence.
Oh yeah,
Anawa
I forgot
had to
to
step
mention
in
that.
more
Yeah.
than once. Like, no, stop.
Stop it! We don't hit our friends.
And then it specifically mentions that eventually it seems as though they always kind of knew that they weren't supposed to be battering each other.
Supposed to be battering the
Yeah,
little stone
Unity,
ball.
dude.
Less
Unity,
rugby, more soccer.
Yeah, Unity, and Destiny are like engraved into their souls or whatever. So they know,
not American football.
they know deep in their souls deep in their robot souls that they're not supposed to be punching each other and kicking and screaming.
Yeah. So as I've been trying to say, they win and they all feel better about it. They're like, you know what?
Yay.
That was fun. We have no beef with each other. Good game, everyone. GG's.
GG.
No beef.
Yeah, the beef has been
Rocks
squashed.
and dirt.
Not even one
Rocks
of them
and dirt.
busted out the easy. It was so
Rocks.
But it wasn't easy. It was hard.
It wasn't easy. It took like 12 hours.
It took the
Hey,
entire
if you're
day.
toxic enough, that won't stop you.
Ahkmou said it under his breath.
Rocks and dirt can get along after all. Hey.
They come up with the name. Oh my god, I can't speak. They come up with the name of the game,
And
which is Coley, because it's a
and
nice,
then
simple name for a
and
simple
then-
sport.
But the story ends before they reveal the name because we all know the name.
That's
I
true.
do like that. It's a nice way to end it.
That's true. My brain was filling in the gap.
If only the author hadn't been crushed by a torrent of buses so that I could tell him how clever that was.
If only.
Yes, if only. I would tell him, you are worthy of standing with the great bionicle authors, my friend.
Yeah.
What an honor.
Kathy Horses and Greg Time
Potty.
Guy.
I'm sure we discussed this on the original series, but if not, it's becoming more well known now than it was back then. But Kathy Hapka was the ghostwriter for a series of horse romance novels. Apparently,
I didn't know this.
Yep.
Wait. So like
just
horses
thought-
romancing each other, or people
how do you
romancing
put-
horses?
I don't know.
Or is it? Or they're horses, but it's two regular humans romancing each other amid their shared passion of horse.
No. Horse riders. Horse riders romancing each other.
I see.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
it's just My Little
so-
Pony fan fiction.
Yeah.
Oh.
So the founding family of the Lego company happens to one of the granddaughters of the founder. I don't remember the exact lineage, but she's like an Olympic horse dancer. So she's probably more like. So she's probably
What do
more
you
likely
mean,
to
horse dancer?
Do you mean
horse
dressage?
dance. Yes, dressage.
I'm not
It's
even like
called
phased by the
dressage.
nonsense anymore.
It's called-
I didn't
it's
even
called
notice that was
dressage,
silly.
It's called dressage, but I think it's funnier to call it horse dancing. She's an Olympic horse dancer, so they probably were like. I like to imagine that she was just reading books about horses, and someone was like, what's the name of an author to hire for Bionicle? Kathy Hopka. Spoon, fork. They were just looking around their room, and then they just happened to look at a book, and they're like, books have names of authors on them. Kathy Hopka.
All right.
Yes, hire the horse lady to write the book
Yes,
about the
but-
robots that have nothing to do with horses.
But on the topic of books, we shall get into our next story, which is Chronicler's Bias.
I thought it might be.
Those who do not dance with horses.
Yes, we don't parlay with horse. We don't talk to them.
Kopecky ain't got no
I do-
time for
We
horses.
don't
I do.
parlay with
He has a
horse.
hard task.
All right. So, Chronicler's Bias set after what is it? When they rediscover Metronui and Takua has transformed into the golden god, Takanuva,
Mm.
the golden man.
The real main character of Bionicle.
Yes, if there is a single main character, it's probably him. So we got the new chronicler, Kopek, which is still such a funny choice.
I would have thought. Wait. Didn't I know we've had? I know we've had to have multiple discussions about this. Is it Kopek, Kopek, or Kopeka?
I thought it was
apparently
Kopek.
it's Kopek.
We've talked about. I think we talked about this with Greg, didn't we?
Oh no, we have
Probably.
the answer and have forgotten. Oh dear.
It's okay. I'm calling him
We have
Kopek.
forgotten our ways.
To be
I'm
fair,
not-
I
we
think
have-
it might
you
have
call
been
him whatever you
dubious
want.
to ask Greg to pronounce Polynesian names in the first place.
Well, we have the next. We have the next best thing. We have new Greg. Liam, how do you think it's pronounced?
I
careful,
think it's
this will be
pronounced
canon.
however everyone else thinks it's pronounced.
That's the canon now. It's pronounced however you like it.
Got it. Kopeka is my girlfriend, who also doesn't seem to care how people spell or pronounce her name.
All right. So Kopek is gathering all the records of Metronui and Matanui, and he's organizing them because he is the new chronicler, taking over after Holly was very briefly chronicler. Which is,
God, yeah, Hali was only chronicler for like 2 weeks or something, wasn't she?
I feel like at least a month, because it's like I feel like
Time moves.
Ability in this job, is there?
Time moves fast. Time moves fast. And back when things were really popping off in Metro Nui, this job killed lots of Cronklers, I assume.
Yeah.
Just one died.
Well, was he the Cronkler for all of the history of the universe before?
Well, for Metro Nui, he's the only chronicler of Metro Nui we know, is what I mean.
So he sat there sorting through stacks of iPads and Assyrian tablets.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
When Takanuva got ADHD and started reading about stuff.
Yes, he's being assisted by Takanuva.
I do love the idea of this story where Takanuva just very briefly goes back to his old job.
Yeah, I like that.
Just for a moment.
He is my chronicler. He's my favorite one.
The office is low on staff at the moment. They had to hire him back on a contract.
There's not much for him to do at this point at this time in canon, so they're just like, hey, help Kopeka sort the stuff. And so he's just sitting there helping him sort the stuff, and he's not doing a good job at it because while he was good at the going places part of chronicling, he wasn't good at the paperwork part.
He just liked reading.
The stonework.
Yeah, so he got distracted reading and instead of, sorting. What you're supposed to do when you're sorting things is read until you find out who wrote it and then put it in the right pile. But he's like, wow, this is really interesting. I'm gonna read this whole dang thing instead of doing what I'm here for.
Yes. He's like, hey, Kodan was a really good expositor, and he's just like, I bet Takanuva will be impressed by my big brain word.
I love how during this whole exchange, Kopik has the absolute audacity to tell Takanuva that maybe he should have gotten out more.
Right?
The one Matoran who went out of his village so much that he was practically exiled from Takoro because of it.
Yeah, because he was a lazy man.
I interpret it as he is deliberately trying to get under Takanuva's skin to get him to stop to get his attention away from the thing he's reading.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. But also Kopek is lacking self-awareness.
Oh, there's that also, because Kopek, as Takanuva points out, is the most insular Matoran in the whole of the creation.
If you ask me, I would say, whereas, Takanuva is absolutely ADHD coded, Ko-Matoran, I think, are autism coded. They don't know anything beyond their studies. Socially, they either don't know what they're doing or they just don't give a shit.
Wasn't Kopek the bird translator for Nuju?
But that was Matoro.
Kopek just minded his own business at the gate.
Yeah.
The drift.
Yeah, and he would create sculptures, I think?
Yeah.
Was that something he did? No, he made keys.
Yeah. He also made sculptures, I think.
He was an ice carver, so it was something.
Yeah,
and it was
another Hafu original.
Yes. But yeah, he's extremely antisocial, even for a Komatoran. Which is why Takanuva is like, what are you saying?
He is deliberately trying to get under Takanuva's skin to get him to stop stop wasting time.
He's like, I know big words.
Another thing I do quite like about this exchange as well is there's often not so much on Madanui as much as in Metro Nui, but there's a certain way that Matoran usually treat Toa with a lot of reverence. And I really like how Kopik just does not give a fuck. This is quite possibly the most powerful and most important Toa to ever exist.
But he's also his friend.
And he's like, yeah, maybe you should get out more, buddy.
No, but he was in the Chroniclers company.
To be fair,
with Takua.
True.
To be fair, he is so much harder to take seriously when he is being ADHD because he's just a silly nerd and he's so funny. He's just a silly boy.
He's a goofy
just a
guy.
silly funny baby.
So Kopek, brings up the term chronicler's bias, which
he invented.
Yeah, he invented this
He
term,
brings
first
it
of
up
all.
as though
My source
Takanuva.
is I made it the fuck up.
Yeah, but it makes sense.
Swear jar.
So what chronicler's bias is he's pointing out that chroniclers typically focus on stories. They put more emphasis on stories related to where they're from. So they'll like record more about the events. Like Kodan, for instance, he recorded a lot of events that happened in Po Metro, more so than the other districts. And then he points out to Takanuva, like, "Hey, when you were chronicler, you mainly reported from Takoro. What's that about?" Yeah.
I do
And
just
that's when
love
he
how
says,
this entire...
"Hey, maybe you should get out more." And Takanuva's like, "Buddy," that's the pot calling the kettle black right there.
I do love how this entire story can be boiled down essentially to Kopeka saying, "Check your biases," to Takanuva, and him going, "No, you." And Kopeka's
like,
just, "Oh, fug."
And then he's frustrated because
And then
he's
they
right.
just go back to awkward silence.
Yeah. I do like how Kopeka gets like frustrated because Takanuva's right. It's just like, mate.
He's out of line, but he's right.
Yeah, exactly.
I want this story
He pulls
adapted.
out the Uno reverse card, and that's the only argument needed.
I want this story adapted into a rap battle.
But yeah, that's that story. It's a very short one. To be honest, this is not going to surprise anyone. I've enjoyed all of these. So
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I enjoy it. I enjoy all of it. I regret so much how many buses I'm going to drop directly on Tarker, whatever his name is pronounced.
So, our next story takes us to the lovely land of Voyanui, which isn't actually that lovely. It's kind of miserable.
It's terrible.
It's not lovely at all. This is a shithole.
Is it?
Yeah.
Swear jar. Isn't this story literally called Despair?
Yes.
Yes.
And I believe it's, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is sort of like related to the that short story Hope, the canon one.
The sequel to that story.
Yeah, I like that.
I see.
See, we got the opposite word. Genius.
Yeah. the Tamatoran from Hope. That's Kapua. That's the same guy.
Oh, is it? Oh my god, I totally forgot about
it's-
Kapua. Oh my god.
It's been so long since I've read that story, so
I think I read it.
Well.
I read it in 2011. That was
I'm
the last
sure
time.
we
That's the
did
last
that
time I
for
read
the
it.
first season, though.
Basically, there's a minor Tamatoran character in it that's like a weatherman. That's Kapua. And now he's getting the spotlight.
That's awesome.
Yes. So, Despair.
Horse.
We got our Tamatoran named Kapua, who we just talked about. He's climbing the mountain to check on the weather because it is his job to look at the weather to see if, bad weather is coming, and to
Yeah, the clouds are up, and if he goes up, he'll see them better. So, time to climb the dangerous mountain.
He's the bravest meteorologist.
But he sees a guy.
He does
Yes.
see a guy.
He's a
And
guy.
it could be a
it's a
nasty guy,
Damatoran.
so he follows him.
He talks to him. He's a shy little guy. His name is Vinor.
I do like that the second he sees that he's a Damatoran, he's like, yes.
I gotta be quiet.
Better whisper.
Gotta be quiet.
He doesn't know if it's friend or foe, but straight from the offside, he's respecting this guy.
Yeah, Kapua's cool. He's an old man.
I love how respectful it is. It's adorable.
It is. It's lovely.
Yeah, it's a shame that the story is so fucking sad.
Does it cause you to despair
Swear jar.
in the absence of hope?
Swear jar.
Rampa? Sorry, that's a silly joke. So then they're talking, and Kapua realizes a hurricane is coming, and that's no good. So he goes back down the
That's
mountain,
no good.
talks to Garon, and he's like, "Hey, hurricane's coming, boy. We gotta evacuate."
I felt big
Boy!
wind. We must run.
Boy.
The boy.
So,
The baby.
The boy.
during the evacuation, Kapua notices that Vinur is missing, and that's no good.
Vinegar. That's no
So
good.
he's going out into the mountain during this awful, awful weather. It's absolutely just like downright ugly weather. I don't like it. I wouldn't want to be in it.
This despairable weather.
Yes, it's terrible. He's like, well,
Which
as you
is
can see,
in fact
Garen,
a word.
we've got winds at 100 kilometers per hour. They're about to ruin our settlement.
So he's like, Vinner's
Shenanigans.
definitely at the beach. He likes the beach.
what was the
He really
mountain?
likes the beach. I wish I had asked him why he was at the beach last time I saw him. I sure do like things.
He
Yeah.
sees him from the mountain, but he's been combing the beach for Suru, I think.
Combs?
Oh, I've misremembered. Well, thank you for clarifying, my friend. Is this correct, Mr.
He's like
Authorman?
Liam. He's like Liam. He's like Liam. He really likes combs.
God.
Am I
That's
interpreting
a
that
deep cut
correctly?
reference.
So Vinner reveals his tragic backstory about how he had a friend named Suru who was among those who sunk.
And have you seen my red arm? I bet you didn't recognize me because of the red arm.
Oh my god.
Uh-huh.
It was
You
on the
mentioned
right
I-
back.
you mentioned
particularly
tragic
love-
backstories.
I specifically love as well that this whole interaction is taking place just like, presumably they're just standing in the middle of the storm, just having this conversation.
Yeah, it's like I had
And
a friend.
I don't know, I think that's a
Screaming
really
this
powerful
conversation.
visual where they're just like yelling back and forth at each other through the wind. And it's like, I get the visual of, like, the conversation is like a deadly calm, but they're surrounded by the storm, and it's just such a great contrast.
Do you know what?
Especially-
Yeah, you're right.
What the best part is that Damatoran, they do not like the loud. But
Mm.
this Damatoran, he has reasons why he really need to be in the loud.
So yeah, Suru had sunk with Mari Nui, which was a fate a lot of Matoran envoy Nui fell to, and it was very tragic. After this revelation, a gust of wind knocks them both away. in my
hard
notes, I
wind
put
hits
cliff because
them
I
both.
misremembered it as a cliff, but apparently it's the beach.
Yeah.
So I'm whoops, sorry. Kapua survives, but unfortunately, Vinner perishes, and it's very sad.
No, not the vinegar. I loved him.
I was actually really sad when it's just he fell to his knees and checked Vinner's heart light. It was no longer flashing, and that's it.
Yeah.
Oh,
The poor
Yeah,
guy.
no to do, no big speech or scene. It's just he's dead.
Sad boy. Sad boy dead.
Sad boy hours. So Kapua, as a tribute to Vinner, he drops his mask into the sea to reunite his spirit with Suru, which is
It's a David Torrin tradition.
yeah. Well,
It's just a Voyanui tradition.
well,
no,
more specifically,
it's a
wherever
tradition from
wherever
where
Kapua
Kapua
came
is
from
from.
originally. That's what he says.
Yeah.
Right.
I read the thing. Is what he said it do.
More specifically, he was supposed to give it to a friend of the deceased, but alas, Vinner had no friend.
He had
His friend
no
is dead.
friends.
That's right.
And
That's
he didn't
why he
want to
dropped
swap
it
his
into the
own
sea.
mask.
Sorry, what'd you say?
I thought it said it was the David Torrin tradition.
Not that
Did I
I'm
read
aware
it?
of.
No,
Did I read it wrong?
I think so.
Crap.
I wrote it in the sense that it's a tradition from where Kapua is.
Yeah.
A Motoran
Oh.
dies and they take off his mask and they gave it to someone's friend.
Well, I took the
Like-
wrong impression from that. My media literacy is very bad, apparently. We established it. We've already established this. Moving on.
Oh yeah, but that's that story actually, and it was a tragic tale of despair
Hmm.
and no hope.
And I always like having more world building for Voyanui and Mari Nui in particular. We discussed a little bit of this last week as well, but I especially in this period of time, you know, during the 1,000 Years of Darkness or whatever it's called, I think having more world building for anywhere in the universe during that time is very intriguing.
I agree. So much of it is unexplored.
I love it. Too bad a bus fell on Tarker during this storm.
Now we can't get any more from this author. We did a good job.
Oh no.
This brilliant
shame.
author.
He
was a
fell
nice
in
guy.
the Pear Wiggler.
Rest in
He
peace.
fell in Yep, a bus
Rest in
fell on him.
pairs.
A bus fell on him. He didn't die from the bus falling on him, but the bus falling on him dropped him in the Periwiggler. And no one escapes from the Periwiggler, Liam.
Liam, you were supposed to be the Periwiggler police protecting us from this meme. How could you have failed
No,
us so
Liam-
deeply?
Liam fell into the
You were
Periwiggler.
supposed to destroy the Periwiggler, not join them.
Moving on.
I'd like to make 2 quick notes at the end of this story, because it's the first appearance. I really liked the couple of images that we got along with these stories. The next one in particular, I don't know why, but it really adds so much to me, like just having these little posed figures for the moments in the stories that hit them hardest.
Yeah.
The reason it adds stuff is because you grow more attached to characters if you know what they are supposed to look like.
Yeah, I
True.
wanted a visual representation of these characters, so I made this
I love
box
it.
of them.
It's
I
brilliant.
really like
it's a brilliant touch, and
Thank you.
I think it would have been good to have included this with other characters, such as Greg's favorite character was Lariska, apparently, but we never actually got a canon depiction of what she's supposed to look like. So we don't know what she's supposed to look like, and so on the one hand, it's great that everyone can have their own interpretation of what she's supposed to look like. On the other hand, it's hard to build community over something that no one can agree on.
Exactly. And also, even if there was a canon design, people can still make their own interpretation. People do that with the Toa
Yes.
all the time.
Some people interpret her as a cat girl, and some people interpret her as whatever her species is looks similar to Rudaka's species. And both of these things can be true. Her species could just as easily be a cat girl version of Rudaka's species.
The other small point I wanted to make was that this story and the next have a lot of instances of little moments being tied together and influencing each other. I really like the approach to this of having, what's the word? Not canon.
Flumpus.
Yeah,
Flumpus Wiggles.
Flumpus Wiggle is exactly the one I was looking for. But the other might be.
Yes.
I suppose.
Flumpus Wiggles.
Thank you, Josie. As the other ADHD one, I appreciate it. Bugger brain blank. Moving swiftly on.
Oh no.
No, actually, I've recovered it. Yeah, these little moments tie into each other so well. I really like that there's quite a clear sequence of events in these stories. I often find it hard when I'm reading mismatched piecemeal stories to work out exactly when things are happening in conjunction to others and how they tie into each other. But this really just lays it out so clearly how everything ties together.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Do we have any other thoughts on Despair before we move on?
I think we should. I think we're pretty good. I think we should move along because we do only have about an hour left, I think.
Exactly.
Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas!
All right. Tidal Wave. One of my favorite Transformers. No. I'm not joking, but that's not related. That's not the Tidal Wave I'm talking about. So, in Mari Nui, our boy Suru is alive and well. Isn't that great? Hooray!
Yay!
It wasn't all bad.
And he doesn't remember shit.
Exactly. So Suru's chilling, looking at Vinner's mask that was recovered from when Kapua, dunked it down the ocean.
It's broken, so nobody can. So normally they're like, masks really good because no one here can make masks. There's not enough oxygen to do metal smelting. So if someone's mask breaks, they're screwed. But this mask, we can't use this mask to replace broken masks because it's broken.
Mm-hmm.
And so this guy is like, I don't know why, but I really want that. Can I have that? And so whoever divvies up the supplies like, yeah, no one else wants it, so you can just have it. And this guy is just staring at it like, why do I recognize it? Why does this mask make me feel sad? Why am I looking at this?
Why do I feel things?
Why do I feel things? And everyone else, Voyanui, you could probably tell this one's my favorite one because it deals with memory, and my memory is really bad. And my sense of memory is really bad, and everyone here is like, okay, so the story here is that nobody in Marinui remembers anything of their previous life, because when the Great Cataclysm happened, they seem to forget everything except that they did used to live on the surface, and it was slightly better than living underwater.
There weren't eels everywhere. That was
else.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Whenever they remember anything from their previous life, it's a big deal. They have big ceremony. It's like they're a celebrity for a day. And what's this guy's name? Suru?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
have a vague memory of remembering that this little bit about the sanctuary and remembrance. Was this ever a part of official canon, or did I just imagine it?
Yeah, it was. It was mentioned in City of the Lost, the 6th book, but it wasn't really expanded on. Part of the infrastructure of Marinui, they had the council chamber where they elect a new leader every month, and in the exposition of describing that place, they mentioned the memory ritual. It was just a little bit of world building, but it was never really explored.
Until now.
Until now, exactly.
Yeah, so Suru here, he's like, man, I never remember anything from my past life. It's because the only thing from his past life that has any relevance, because it's the only thing that's been written yet, is really sad. So he doesn't. So like, but like, yeah. So like, he's staring at this mask, like, I look at this mask and I remember that there's something here. There's something here. And then I don't remember what happens next. So someone else take the reins here.
Yes. So what happens is Suru and the rest of the Marinui Matoran are beginning their journey, their exodus to Voyanui through the cord. Ooh.
But not before Matoro fights off some eels, I guess.
They are the mutated Paraka. Whoa.
Oh, is that what those were? That is what they were supposed to be. I didn't get that for some reason.
Yeah, the big old smiles. It describes them quite
Suru says he
scarily,
looks back
actually.
at them. Suru says he looks back at them, and it's like they're like colorful, smiling eels.
Yeah, and Matoro says like some old friends have come back. In fairness, it was like 1 a.m. when I was reading this last night, and I was high off my ass. So that's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it.
My brain was firing on as many cylinders as it can. I had just eaten a whole pizza.
You too, huh? But yeah, somehow I did not catch that. That's really cool. Just a little bit of the Paraka coming back. I like that.
I caught.
God damn it!
I caught it immediately. Stupid. Yo, Paraka!
All right. That is my one joke per story that I am allowed.
Anyway, I love this so much. I loved everything about this. But yeah, in the ensuing chaos, the mask gets all smashed up. But Suru does remember why it was important to him.
Somewhat.
Vaguely.
So
it takes him a little longer to fully remember, but
yeah, he loses the object itself, but he remembers why it mattered to him.
It's quite tragic, actually. Yeah, he remembers it just in time to be sad.
However, before that, when they get to the surface, Suru's reunited with Dalu, who was also their friend, apparently.
Yeah, this is adorable too.
I love this whole sequence of like the Marinui Matoran reuniting with their former friends on Voyanui, which is it was tragically unexplored during the actual story, whereas
it was like
they were evacuated.
In the novel.
That's like they were evacuated. They all went to Metro Nui, and that's it.
They were too busy dealing with the death of God.
None of the ramifications of that.
Yeah.
I mean, fair.
Yeah, the story was dedicated to the death of God.
Vinegar never mentioned that he and Sulu had other friends. But like I just love this. I love that this story has a happy twist. I wasn't expecting it to turn out that Sulu had other friends.
And it's a very nice contrast to the previous story it's directly following, where it's like, it was a nice story that had a very sad ending, but this is like a bit of a, not so much a sad story overall, but just a lower energy story with a happy ending.
I agree.
Happy-ish. The mask is kind of broken, but just, you get it fixed up.
What really matters got recovered.
Better than before.
And that's the memory.
Yeah.
The memory is important. Having a memento to keep to having a the memento is less important, but you know, I like having things to remember stuff because my memory is bad. I've mentioned that.
Yes.
That's why I like this story so much.
Speaks to you on a personal level. But yeah, that was actually, I think that was the final story from Tahnok Trapper that we were to cover.
That was indeed.
Yeah.
I had a lovely time.
What about the part with Axon and the part where he finally remembers?
Yes. But yeah, thank you for working on these, my guy. I think you did a good job.
These were wonderful, yeah.
I was admittedly a little worried going in because like I hadn't finished my reading until last night. And I know Max was similarly worried because we thought they were going to be as long as some of the other stories we read this week. So I was like, oh god, we gotta read like
7
different stories that are gonna be like chapters long in like 2 hours.
Then we saw them and I was like, oh, this is nice. This is refreshingly, refreshingly succinct, and I liked that.
Yeah. With the succinctness as well, it wasn't over too quickly. It was like it felt full, even as short as it was.
Yeah,
they're very well paced as well. You get the sense that these are like headcanons that have spawned the story, like situations and prompts.
Headcanons, they were.
Exactly, yeah. It really comes across, and I think they're so well articulated. You've done an amazing job with all of them, really.
Fully agree.
Mm-hmm.
Did I mention I'm a semi-professional writer back home? Like, I'm not super
Really?
famous. Like, I'm not like super famous. I'm just kind of good.
It comes
Kinda
across.
good.
I could see
It definitely comes across.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That tracks.
So, Chronicler Max, what are we moving on to
now,
next?
We're going to switch authors to our other good friend, Bob the Doctor.
Robert
Indeed.
the Doctor.
Don't forget the 27, guys.
Oh, yes, the 27. Oh my goodness gracious.
Very important. How dare you?
Oh,
Nah.
Alrighty. So we have War Stories and the Perilous Catch. Do we want to do the Perilous Catch since it moves from Tidal Wave? Or...
yes, we're going to start with Perilous Catch.
do
I think you
second
can
one,
see
Perilous Catch.
why I was ordering it like this now.
Yeah.
Indeed,
That's
yes.
the one that I have the most notes on this week.
It was stunning, actually. I've really enjoyed the Perilous Catch.
That was the first one I took
absolutely.
notes on.
Yeah.
Really
Once
glad you
again,
did.
the world building
glorious.
for Voya Nui and Maori Nui is excellent here.
Mm.
You've done a good job picking the authors to canonize here, Liam, and the authors themselves have
I
also
didn't pick
done a good job.
anything.
The community.
You were simply on the
Well,
I'm
council.
not in charge of the organization.
Well, then in that case, I'm not going to thank you for anything. Bob, all of this is on you. This is fantastic work you've done with this.
Praise and glory unto thee.
Anyway,
Thanks. I'd like to
yes.
say just a word or two about how I went about writing this.
Please
I'd
do.
actually started working at a maritime museum at the time, and I've
Oh.
loved Voya Nui, I've loved Maori Nui for years. I loved the Voya Nui online game. Obviously, that was a big influence. And I was reading a lot about deep sea diving while I was at the museum, and I started writing this. There's a lot of like ocean boats, marine salvage as well was really fascinating to me, which is what spawned this story.
Right.
What's also interesting about this is when I started writing, it was just the Voya Nui section, just the part where which I think is now the middle part of the story. It was exclusively just that. And as I was writing it, I decided to add more, and it became a much larger scope of story. So that was the only part of the story.
Max, I can hear you typing.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
Clickety clackety clickety
I'm sorry, it's a word.
Clickety
Oh my god,
clackety.
I am listening, don't worry.
That's going in the episode.
Oh dear.
So Bob, you were saying?
Well, not much else. Just the fact that only the original version of the story was just the Voya Nui section. So it was a much shorter story. But
Right.
as I continued writing it, as I just embellished what I had, it became 3 distinct sections of the story. And I actually finished it during COVID, during the lockdown. So I had bits and pieces in my head. And with being locked down for so long, I ended up finally finishing this. And I'm really happy with the end result. It's
I think it... Sorry, go on.
it's one of the few stories I've actually had Greg read. I think it was the first thing we ever sent him when we started doing like Myth and Legacy stuff with him.
Okay.
It's the very first one we ever asked him to read because it's about the Matoran, about Voya Nui and Mari Nui, and it's not, it's a more personal landscape. It's a world building story, and it's building off of this very nostalgic piece in the biography. Voya Nui and Mari Nui and the land that these characters inhabit.
Can I just ask, what did Greg think of the story? Did he like it?
He sent me a one-line response saying it was great, and he enjoyed it. So I think it was good.
He does tend to do that.
That's very Greg.
He's very direct.
Like, the one thing I will say about Greg is like in text he can come across as a little standoffish just because he doesn't waste words, but he's a very nice guy when you talk to him.
Absolutely.
with mouths.
Fantastic.
He always seems so intimidating on the forums when you asked him questions, and occasionally he would answer. And especially when I would ask stupid questions because I'm me.
I suppose, but the thing
I would
is, he replied to all of them at the very least. He gave that answer.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I remember distinctly. I asked him a question if Kapura's whole thing had anything to do with the Mask of Time, and he reminded me that Matoran can't use mask powers, and I was so embarrassed because I should have known. I should have realized that.
So, shall we get into the actual story itself and talk about what happened?
Indeed.
Well, we have the time.
Christmas.
Basically, yeah. So, Peric, he's traveling through Voya Nui. He's like, I gotta get to the ceremony, and it's a naming day ceremony. He's carrying a small box. It's a lovely little box that's locked. So he arrives. He meets the other Voya Nui Matoran. They begin the ceremony. They comment on how Velika is in there, because he's secretly not nice, but they don't know that yet. And Dalu's like, he never comes, and I like that bit. I like that.
The real reason why I didn't include Velika was I didn't want to write for Velika. I don't want to,
That's actually
which
so
is
smart.
why I had
enjoy-
someone said a line that was he said something about a blade burrow with whiskers and sent me on my way, which was I sat down trying to think of a line for Velika. I could not think of anything. So I just had that hand wave of he's not here.
That's actually so funny. I didn't even clock that would have been the reason. I didn't think of that, but that's actually so true.
It's like Greg with tree speak.
It's like,
It goes on long.
Although
Have him be
love
possessed.
Velika. Yeah.
I like that the Velika has never feigned more interest in the rebellion than he had to.
Yeah, that too. I mean,
I like that idea.
He shows a disdain for it.
yeah.
So I like the
way.
canon. I like the canonization that he quote never shows up to these things.
It's true. Though this is before the
Right
rebellion.
on, Brad.
Correct? I'm correct, right? This is before
Yes.
Yeah, this is 600 years ago. At least after
In a
during the Dark Tide.
way, they are rebelling against nature.
Aren't we all? No, I'm just
So
joking.
moving
We're
on,
part,
we
of,
get
we
to
are
the
part of
Cape of
nature.
No
Nature
Hope.
can't rebel against itself. That's silly. Um,
No, no, nature is rebelling against us.
so they begin the ceremony, and usually naming day in the Matoran universe is a happy day, which is like Christmas. But alas, here it's more of a memorial for the dead. You know, the believed to be dead Marinui Matoran.
Like Christmas when you're poor.
Yeah. But you put all of your possessions into a boat and then sink the boat.
You have a Viking burial for all of your worldly goods.
Yes.
Then yeah, it's just like Christmas.
They pay the tithe.
As my obnoxious headmate said at the beginning of this podcast, set all your money on fire. Or, no, flush all your money down the toilet, they said. Just like Christmas.
Yeah.
Exactly like Christmas.
Yes. So they send it off. They sink the boat that the presents are put on, and it goes down to the bottom of the sea. And and something I appreciate is that they comment on like how this is not gonna, or at least they think about how this is not gonna be like sustainable for them.
It's a really bad idea.
Yeah.
I like the sentiment, but it's a really bad idea. Narratively, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to point out that it was I hate you for this. I love this, but I hate you for this.
Mm-hmm.
And Gonal knows what I'm talking about. I messaged him about this immediately as I was reading this. But if you've played the Voyanui online game, you would realize that the items that they are picking up and putting into their sacrifices, like Burnak metal and things like that, are items from the game.
Yeah. I saw that too.
Yes.
I thought that was really clever.
Yeah.
I did not realize that, but I quite like that.
Not just the items themselves, but the whole first section of this chapter where Pyrrhus is running through the wilderness. That is all describing from Tahnok, so especially the canyon fortress, as he goes through kind of a desert region. I think he goes past the Cave of No Hope, Black Rock, Mount Valmai. It's all from scenes from the game. Him running through this familiar landscape, trying to get to the ceremony.
It's a nice little time.
Yeah.
I like that.
I apologize for talking over you, but yes, I quite like that there are details that even I miss with my near encyclopedic knowledge of Bion.
But
and there's more to come. It's not just the Burnak metal. I think there's a few others. But I was on ESO1 looking at items from Voyanui online game. Like, what can I put in here?
I like how stingy boy Dezalk gave them like a broken fire talon. Was that it?
Exactly.
And it was a big scandal. I like that. I like that detail.
Just like, damn, cheap.
Couldn't even fix it.
No damage done character. And I think that's on point as well for Dezalk, because he's sort of the black sheep of their whole community. He's the first one to get infected with the anti-thermist, but
first one to get in trouble.
The reason he's the first one to do no good here.
Yes, but now we transition from the perspective of the presence as we fall down the sea, or float, or is it sink? No, it's sink down the sea, and the presence are attacked by the Marinui Matoran, who the presents are for. So, the Marinui Matoran, they're catching the tributes. They're trying to get what they can, and they're like, "Ooh, that's nice, we got it." But alas,
ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy.
Alas, the venom eels start attacking, which is hella inconvenient because usually they pick a time when the predators are often about, I don't know, being not here. So the venom eels are attacking, and the venom eels they got beef with the Marinui Matoran for their home, destroying their home, or their breeding grounds, or what have you.
No, they have fish, not beef.
You're right. So they take what they can get. They make it back to Marinui. It's quite harrowing. Some of them kind of they get beat up a little bit. They get attacked.
It describes the eels as like clinging onto them as they're going. And,
Yeah, kind of like lamprey, eh?
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with those descriptions.
I also really like how it describes them as moving as, what was it? One mighty shawl. I really liked that imagery.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Quite good.
I had a lot to say about the Rahi and about the way they move, and especially the eels, because eels are weird.
Eels are
The
weird.
way they move through the water.
They're so weird. They're so
Yeah, they're the weirdest. Of the Mari Nui Rahi army, yeah, we didn't see a lot of the Phenom eels. It was only really the enlarged one we really saw.
sea creatures in general are some of the weirdest creatures on this planet.
Absolutely. Don't know if anyone's played Subnautica, but I've gotten into Subnautica a lot lately, and they're weird underwater creatures. It's a whole other world, and do not belong in it. Yeah, but I wanted to use the as like a level 1 predator, so that they're not that scary really. They're weird, but the fact that there are so many of them makes this all-encompassing all of larger beasts.
Yep. So these poor babies can't even celebrate Christmas without getting assaulted by wigglers.
Exactly. So yes, so the Matoran have made it back to Marinui. No casualties, thankfully. And they started inspecting their haul.
Between Bionicle and Futurama. Bionicle and Futurama form a Venn diagram of casualties on Christmas.
Right.
And also Weird Al.
Now I'm just imagining Makuta as like Robo Santa.
Yeah.
So yes, they're looking. Does anyone remember any of the specific items before the last one, which was in the box, which we will cover as the last gift?
Well, there was
No,
a
I
mask
don't
of
remember.
aging, and there was a mask of aging.
Yeah,
There was that, yeah.
Yeah, that's
I don't
valuable.
And a bit of
remember
metal.
Sorry, go on, guys.
I do like that specifically was in there because it, despite the fact that Matoran from Karzani are often given what is considered by Toa and Matoran culture to be immoral masks, you don't really see that outside of Karzani's realm. So it was nice to see that, not only are there Matoran from different secondary elements here and in Mari Nui, but also that they definitely still have those oddball masks and things like that.
Yeah. And it really shows their desperation too. Like they can't, even though it's an immoral mask, it's a mask.
They'll
And
take anything they can
they'll
get.
take what they can get. Exactly.
I like that they hold such reverence for gifts from above that they have a ceremonial chamber to keep armor and things to store until it's needed, and it's like they put it on display. They decorate it. They don't just keep it in storage like white people do it with museums.
Where they
I'm referencing
keep things and put things on display.
No, they're museums have back rooms where they keep stuff, where they keep
all sorts,
all sorts of things that they don't bother putting on display instead of just giving it back to the people they stole it from. Moving on, they even hold such reverence for the masks that they still bother to keep track of what the masks are. Like, they don't just think of this as a mask. They acknowledge, oh, it's a mask of aging. They care about about the detail because they have so little to connect them to the rest of the universe here under the sea. They want even such something as minor as, oh, this is a mask that can age you into dust. That's
Despite
so cool.
them not having the ability to use it. No, actually, that's quite interesting.
This is a mask that this is a mask that if a Toa shot you with it, it would turn you into dust. That's so cool. I'm gonna put it on the shelf.
Put it on the shelf until someone mistakes me for Ahkmou one too many times.
Or until someone slightly bumps someone else, and that causes their mask to spontaneously combust.
Ah, my eye.
But yeah, so yes, as we've established, the Marinui Matorn prioritize kind of tributes that are, that are kind of like helpful for their survival, scarce resources, because there's just so much they can't do down there.
I quite like how they note that, like, one of them is just like, I'd love a bowl, like a whetstone.
Yes, things we take for granted, So it's like,
one Matoran found a toolbox full of tools and was like so excited.
Damn, there's screws in here, guys.
Screw
The detail that there are Matoran of iron in this village who are so frustrated that they don't have enough oxygen to
loved
do
that.
metalworking. I love every detail that this establishes.
This was that was excellent.
It was something I never really considered, again, going into it, but like, yeah, if you can't do metalworks down there, then you can't make new masks. So masks become such a very scarce resource, and if there just aren't enough to go around, you're just gonna die.
Like, a mask is more important than food for these people.
That's technically true, you're right.
In order to consume the food, they need the mask in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah?
They will
You could
die.
have someone. You could have like a hospital setup where you just swap masks between
a mask timeshare program.
Yes.
A mask timeshare program where
under those
you
masks.
just leave one Matoran in a coma for a few hours, then you switch it to another Matoran, and it's terrible. But it's one way you could manage if you don't get enough masks.
This is an excellent setting for a dystopian horror.
But thankfully, for whatever reason, the people of Voyanui think that it's a good idea to throw perfectly good masks underwater.
Well, it's a good thing they do.
It's a good thing they do.
I also hadn't previously considered, like, the idea of patchwork armor on the Marinui Matoran. It's not something you really see in the actual sets or even in the comics, but it makes sense.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Plus, we only ever saw four Matoran sets from there.
Yeah.
Lego very much doesn't like making sets that look they're like Disney. They don't like making things that look too chaotic.
I mean, it didn't stop them the previous year.
Yeah.
None of them had eyes.
Yes, but you see, they didn't make new messed up looking masks for them. They just reused previous molds.
That's because it's expensive.
They were like, well,
and these are the budget sets.
That's expensive, yes. True, I guess, but still.
These are the budget sets you'd find you'd get on a whim. Right?
They probably figured, okay, we had our fun. Now let's not go too crazy. Oh, what? They're supposed to have mismatched armor? No.
Anyway. So, finally, the last gift. The fancy box that Pirak had. Everyone gets excited. They're like, "Ooh, what could it be?" Open it up. And to their disappointment, the bottle of water.
The last thing that they possibly needed.
Yeah.
You wrote a lockbox you wrote a blind box into Bionicle. You mad lad.
Yeah.
That does bring up a question, though, in that, like, how do they get water? Like, I know they're surrounded by water, but it's poison water. Yeah. Like, what's their filtration system like? How do they even do that down here?
I mean,
they do it pretty
it's as
skillfully.
simple as electrolysis.
Evidently, they have a filtration system so much that they don't need to worry about the having clean water from the surface is an insult to them more than anything.
It's the duality of their situation, because on Voyanui, water is one of the most precious resource.
Exactly. I was gonna
Because
say
it's
that. I was gonna
learned.
point that out. That's something I really liked. Is that like you said, to the Voyanui Matoran, water is like gold, but down here it's worthless.
The Matoran with the tools could make a makeshift bowl out of this. This isn't actually a bottle. In the story, it was a canteen.
Mm-hmm.
You guys made me confused, and that is amusing.
It is actually Perilous Catch.
Yes. Anyway, yes. A serum. Oh, wait. Perhaps you could use the box as a bowl.
Yeah,
I
I
also
think-
quite liked the detail that was discussed a little earlier on when they were talking about the fact that like we can't do metalworks down here, and that was very frustrating to what was it, the Matoran of Iron that were there?
Yeah, the Fematoran.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's another consideration for them as well. They can't have a large-scale infrastructure. They can't do their own things because they have finite air, and I guess fires or anything that involves electricity.
Fire burns a lot of oxygen.
I have to imagine as well that the entire, like, building off of that idea, I have to imagine that Marinui in general must be terrifying to different types of Matoran, like Po Matoran especially, who notoriously don't really swim all that well. Being completely surrounded by water with only a thin bubble keeping you away from death.
During this story, I believe it was Dakar, who later doesn't exist. He was assaulted by the Wigglers, and he's as it's put in the story, he's built for endurance. He cannot swim fast. So he just like, I'm just gonna hoof it and hopefully I make it home before these wiggly boys eat me.
Yeah, one of the reasons why Stuart is traumatized because he's a Pomatoran underwater, so he's like not well adjusted. And while I'm on the topic, I just want to say that this is actually one of my favorite stories as part of the Myths and Legacies collection.
I love it.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites because the Marinui saga is also one of my favorite arcs in Bionicle. I just love the atmosphere, the whole going on in the story. And
our Lord and Savior Matoro Christ.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that this story in particular, like I remember you mentioned offhand that it started off as just the Voyanui part. And honestly, I'm glad you decided to step back a little bit and continue building on it, because one of my favorite parts of the story is how it has a split perspective between both locations. Kind of what in the actual plot, they always felt kind of disconnected outside of the initial plot point that like Marinui was once part of the island and then it wasn't.
They are disconnected.
And I think that having the story written this way that covers both locations and sort of brings it around in that regard, it helps make the world building between the locations a little more consistent.
Yeah,
darling, they are disconnected, but I do like that they're disconnected in a different way than how they're. The disconnection that Liam describes is different from the actual disconnection that they should be. This story establishes that they just have the opposite values of each other because they may be physically disconnected, but they're supposed to be parallels of each other, and this story emphasizes that because the Voyanui will send offerings to sink to the bottom of the ocean as a ceremony, and some of it is actually generous treasures for the people of Marinui, and some of it's garbage, basically.
Yeah, so I really liked, actually, one of the things I wanted to mention about this story is that it's really cool to me how they've sort of separately ritualized this act of, okay, one side is going to be throwing their relics into the sea so that they can sort of barter with the gods to give them a better life. In so doing, they're unwittingly providing exactly the good fortune that they're praying for to these other people down in Mari Nui.
It's simply brilliant.
They have no idea who they're getting it from, so they have equally attributed it to the gods providing for them.
In fact, we kind of glossed over it a little bit, but I think at the end of Tidal Wave, it was referenced like there was a pair of tools sitting around that one of the Mari Nui Matoran brought back with them, and one of the Voya Nui Matoran recognized them as potentially one of the tools that they had dropped down into the sea.
Yeah, the hook.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
I didn't notice that.
Honestly, I think these three stories actually work really well together.
Yeah, I think this was a
Something that
masterclass in fanfiction, actually.
Something that I would like potentially is if that broken fire talon or whatever turned out to be really useful.
Well, I'll tell you what I did plan, because this story plan, it's the relics of civilization falling from Voya Nui down to Mari Nui. If you take that one step further, and that broken fire talon could have fallen down to the bottom of the pit, down through the waterfall, and it could have hit Luchter on the head in Sparta Nui.
Fun fact, the Perilous Catch was actually a major influence on Despair and Tidal Wave especially. Like I said, it's one of my favorite stories, and it really inspired me. It was, I tried to incorporate some elements of the Perilous Catch into Tidal Wave. I think, and you can see a lot of those parallels.
Yeah,
that probably explains why they work so well together.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
It all works
it's
out.
I'm very glad.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing to hear that I've kind of helped inspire that in a way, and that this story can be seen like that.
In a way, this is relevant to the content of the story as well.
Yes.
What we're talking about right now.
Yes. Actually, unfortunately, we're gonna have to move on to the next story.
Yes, indeed.
Because we have just about half an hour left till we hit our absolute limit.
It's a good thing this is basically the shortest.
Yeah.
In terms of what happens.
Yes. Anyway, our final story is the first one I read during our readings.
Same here.
War Trophies. And War Trophies follows the Dark Hunter Gatherer, who's pretty neat. And he's on an assignment.
Hunter Gatherer.
Ooh.
Hunter Gatherer.
He's a hunter. Oh my god. Oh my god, does say that.
Wow.
So, during combat, Gatherer is trying to the gist of this is that while Gatherer is fighting this Toa, he's trying to analyze what mask the Toa has. And that's basically most of the story. It's just various kind of.
He was initially sent on this mission because it's left rather vague, but to my recollection, the Toa was responsible for ransacking a random vortex's operation, and they put a bounty on his head.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be didn't Rudaka run a business at one point? Could it have been potentially Could it have potentially been her business?
It was
Not sure if this is
Rudaka's
the right
business.
time period.
Yeah.
Nah.
This was just a random Vortex businesswoman. It was intentionally not Rudaka.
Okay, good.
Well, I didn't know what time period this was set in, so
It's kind of open-ended. I think the dark time, sometime around there, but I don't remember if there was a specific date for this one. But
at any rate, I would have found it amusing if Gatherer could not identify what this Toa's mask was to the very end, but he eventually did figure it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also something that Toa comments on is that the Gatherer is a bit weird, and he collects armor from his victims.
That's what he
which is the
do.
equivalent
He
of
is-
taking their
he's-
body parts, their skin.
He's a bit like an assassin bug, I noticed. Yeah.
Yes, he's one of those mocks that won a contest in the Lego magazine.
Oh.
His backstory is he was a Matoran that got recruited by the Dark Hunters, which is quite the achievement.
Yep.
He's
yeah.
You have to be really messed up in the head and also really good at being messed up in the head.
So
And
he glues
I
bits to himself.
I quite love one of the opening lines in this story about the Shadowed One not really covering one's medical expenses.
Yeah, I was
Yep.
very proud of
And
that line. The
unlike
Odina
other-
medical center, whatever that is.
Unlike other Dark Hunters whose backstories involve being formerly Matoran or some other such creature, this guy was never mutated. He did this to himself. Every time he kills someone, he takes a trophy, as the title implies, and adds it to himself. He takes a piece of their armor, their skin, as we've discussed, and grafts it onto himself. And during the course of this battle with the Toa of Fire, his chest plate is damaged.
Indeed.
And he takes the chest plate from this Toa and will use his mask as a codpiece.
I read that.
The second to last note in my list here is just dick mask.
Yeah,
no,
I
he
read
beats this
that
enemy
and I
and he's just
actually
like, "Your
howled.
face
I
will-"
was like, "Oh my god!" I
Yeah,
said
Your
it out
face
loud.
will look great
this
on my
story,
dick.
this whole story was an elaborate dick joke.
I will wear your face on my penis.
Oh,
Glorious. He probably literally would have to wear his head as the crotch piece in order for the build to work with that.
I want to know why
probably.
they have the concept of a codpiece.
Depending on what the mask was, I believe that at a certain point they started using the axle rod.
Yeah.
So, and this would have been a calyx. Oh no! If it was a calyx, it would definitely have had to. Well, no,
No,
It was a mask of
It was
possibility.
a mask of possibilities.
Yeah,
Mask
that's
of
the reveal for the end
possibilities.
of the story. He spends the whole time, as he is a Matoran, as he doesn't have that many powers of his own, he has to rely on identifying the weakness and power
Yes.
set of this Stoa. So he spends the whole
He has
time
a lot of
cycling through
weapons.
math.
Yeah. The mock, I believe, had a disc launcher.
Oh, the mock has so many. Yeah,
in this story, he has a Ratuka launcher and some sort of other
Oh, wasn't it a
miscellaneous
Kanoka launcher?
weapon.
it's a
No,
Kanoka
it was-
launcher,
I
yeah.
Things.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
He mentions a Ratuka, doesn't he?
I think he has a Ratuka too. Like, he's
He
decked
mentioned-
out. He's got a
he
way too
men-
many armors.
He mentions shooting a Ratuka, but it spins off course. He shoots a Kanoka, but it shoots a regeneration one at him. He's like, wow, I'm having a lot of bad luck. Wait a minute. Bad luck? Bad luck?
Hmm.
I know what this idiot's
Mask of
mask
black
is.
bats.
I know what
and broken
I know
mirrors.
I know what this idiot's mask is. I know how to deal with that. I'm going to cause a landslide.
He has the mask of walking under a ladder.
Stepping
Is
on
that
the
a
crack.
mask of
Yes.
possibilities, or are you just pleased to see me?
Hey,
He has the mask. He has the mask of making me look like a chump. I'm no chump. I'm gonna wear his mask of making me look like a chump on my crotch, and that's going to make my romantic partners look like chumps instead.
but yeah.
Oh god, he just wanted to get lucky.
But yeah, I guess we have
Oh,
pretty
dear.
much summarized this story. Like, so
I quite like this one because it was short and sweet, but more to the point, it reminded me tonally quite a bit of the early stories from 2006,
mhm.
where it's just like, wow, this Toa is just fucking dead.
Into the jar you go.
Which are stories that focus on Dark Hunters and Toa fighting Dark Hunters remind me of Time Trap, and therefore I like it.
They're
Glad
pretty
to hear
cool.
It reminded me in particular of that one. I forget if it was Island of Doom in the next book, but it was that one conversation that I think Zaktan was having with someone where we're just like, oh yeah, I fought a Toa of plasma once. Now he's a puddle on the ground.
Exactly what I was going for. Yeah.
Now he's a puddle of plasma.
Yeah.
Aha!
This guy, he's not so lucky anymore, is he?
Now he's plasmant.
Now he's my
Plasmant.
frog.
I wear his face on my left butt cheek now.
We're getting silly.
Oh yes, an actual thing that people do. I don't know. I don't really know how common masks as cod pieces are in mock building, but masks as butt cheeks is slightly more common.
That's true. Faces, like Mata faces especially, are very common as frog pieces.
If anyone would actually have Nuva boobs, it would probably be Gatherer.
It would be yeah.
He would. He totally would.
In the next rewrite, I'll add the new boobs. Don't worry.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I want them to be canon.
The reason, well, for this story, like one of the reasons I wrote it, because tonally I did want to go for Dark Hunter, like next Dark Hunter kills random Toa. Very much what I wanted to do. But I just kind of went through the list of Dark Hunters thinking, who's never going to appear in a story? Gatherer, he's pretty cool, but no one's ever going to use him for anything. I might as well give him a standalone little story where he
I think all of the contest winners from the Lego magazine deserve some kind of story.
Yeah, that's why I quite liked it. Similar reasoning I liked when Ida's Journey, which we may go over later, introduced Shadow Stealer as a character.
Yes. They can't just Stiletto, what's
Krakua?
No, the Toa of Sonics, what's his name?
Krakua.
Krakua?
Oh my god, why Krakua? Yes.
Krakua.
Yes. Krakua is very lucky in that Bionicle actually, utilized him a lot.
To a certain extent.
Mostly, and they utilized him to enough of a point that it felt, we know who he is and what his deal is, and okay, never mind. They utilized him more than most of the mocks that won contests.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
For some reason, he always felt like he was utilized more, even though
he had a very important role.
Yeah,
but that role was referenced like twice.
And as well, there's the fact he's a Toa. Are statistically more likely to appear in stories and have the focus.
Yeah, because they're the heroes.
Also.
They're the superheroes.
They're the big boys. They're the main characters. I really like that everyone that's not from Metrodui just hates these people.
Well, because they're all criminals.
Even the Matoran from other places, they're just like, yeah, meh.
And on that note, I think we need to wrap things up here because looking at the Craig recording, we are officially overtime, although that will probably be fine once we get through editing.
Well, it's been a pleasure to be here, guys. Thanks for having me. Thanks for reading these stories. I hope it was a great experience for you.
Thank you for writing them.
Yes, indeed.
And I believe we have you scheduled for at least one more episode, maybe two.
Yeah, I think I'm here for two more.
Fantastic.
Sorry in advance for the long haul that will be Way of the Lawless. That's a big long one about Malum. I hope you enjoyed it.
Why have you done this to
Desert
me?
Boy.
Ooh. Oh, Malum's my favorite. I can't wait for that. He's my favorite Bionicle character.
I
Malum's the
can't wait
best.
to tell you about the behind the scenes of that because that was a nightmare. But that will be a lot of fun for next time.
Fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait for that.
Definitely looking forward to it.
What other stories are we doing, Liam? Next episode?
Well, next episode, we will be moving in chronological. Since we're kind of doing things somewhat chronologically, next episode we'll be moving more into the Matanui era, where we will be covering the Great Takara, Quest for the Toa, of 3 different versions of it, and a story just simply titled Masks.
Oh,
I like that title.
okie dokie.
Yeah.
Intriguing.
Very exciting.
Intriguing indeed.
Well,
Interesting indeed.
you heard it here, folks. That's what we're reading for next time. Thank you for joining us on Gathered Friends. This is your boy Max signing off, and probably my other friends, the other hosts, will also be signing off.
Oh,
I can't control their lives though. That's up to them.
I can barely control myself.
That's a mood. We'll see y'all next time, everyone.
Goodbye.
Have a lovely evening, everybody.
Bye.
All right, so let's see. We're about an hour and 20 minutes in, I think. So we do have to pick up the pace just a little bit.
I think we're fine, actually, genuinely. We've got about 4 stories left, and they're all short.
Yeah, just as long as we don't go on crazy tangents for the next ones.
I made the sandwich. It barely looks like anything.
There's the tangent.